Hello everybody, I am Dr. Mukesh Pareek and today I am present with a very short video on existentialism which gives rise to theatre of absurd, on which they have been asking us many questions in net exam. Existentialism is a philosophical inquiry of the experience of the human subject, a kind of feeling of helplessness, a kind of feeling that our life is purposeless, a feeling of disorientation is when it arises in us. We call it philosophically we call it existential angst. Uh, Now let me directly come to the questions which have already appeared in the exam, and how they have been asking us that is how this philosophy is related to different philosophers, books, and then dramas. So let me clear first of all that existentialism has something basic in it, that it is based on authenticity. There is a term which occurs in, if you go through books, you will come to know that existentialism as a philosophy considers that human being is an authentic being, and he should not be uh, certain pressure should not be applied on him. So this authentic human being, when he comes face to face with the society's norms and conditions, then that freedom feels inside him is thwarted. He feels that he is not free to behave the way he is feeling, and then that feeling of helplessness, meaninglessness, which is termed in French as ennui, occurs in him. Angst, existential angst, we call it. And he feels that this world is absurd. But when I use the word absurd here from philosophical point of view, then you should understand that we should not apply this word absurd, which means meaninglessness, as such to this philosophy, because the material world outside, the unconscious world, which the Western philosophy considers, is as such neither good nor bad. It is what it is, and if anything happens, then it can happen to anybody, and if it happens, then it happens. It means a person, when he feels that why certain things has happened with me, then he doesn't get any answer, because existential philosophy, existentialism as a philosophy, postulates that it tells us that outer world is absurd. It has no meaning in itself. The trees, the mountains, the stones, everything, they don't have their any meaning in themselves, and human being is free to behave in a free manner. But then he finds that the society he has come up with, because man is not born alone, he is born and brought up in a society, and then he follows the norms of society, and then he comes face to face with the moralities, the conditions, the norms, the rules, the laws of society, and then he feels that anything can happen to him, and his life is meaningless. So sometimes it may sound very tough for some of my students to understand. Then they can contact me directly on phone, and I'm very free to explain it, because now I'm in the mood of helping my students a lot, so that I can feel my life is worth living. So directly coming to the questions which have they asked, and further elaborate, let me further elaborate like what is existentialism. First philosopher in this category is Soren Kierkegaard. Students, Kierkegaard is a very significant philosopher, because he says that man is born free, but he is polluted. His ideas are polluted by the church and media. Okay, first thing. Second important thing about philosophers is Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre has given us many dictums to understand. He was a writer also, means he was a fiction writer also. He was a dramatist, he was a novelist, and he was a philosopher too. His basic proposition is that existence precedes essence. Now it is again very tough for some of our students to understand. because in all the philosophies of the world, we try to give preference to essence first, and we say that essence is more important than the experience, sorry, existence. But they say that our existence is more important than essence. uh, if we go to the list of the questions they have asked us in exam, then my mind goes back to kind of questions when they have asked us questions on empiricism, they have asked questions us on enlightenment, and then existentialism also. So dear friends, existentialism is totally against the other philosophies of empiricism, of considering like mind is a blank slate, and our experience is make our experience makes us what we are. It is also against positivism. So the students who don't understand all these things should go to the dictionary and should consult these words like what is empiricism, what is enlightenment, what is positivism, and they should make notes, and then they can understand, because I'm discussing a philosophy, I'm not discussing only literature, because literature can be understood if we understand philosophy. So in our classroom also, I directly don't come to waiting for Godot. I sometimes try to explain students thoroughly the exact meaning of existentialism. Another philosopher is Martin Heidegger, whose book Being and Time are very important book. Uh, Sometimes they ask us a question like, who used the term existentialism first? So existentialism as a term is coined by French philosopher Gabriel Marcel, and apart from that, another writers are there. For example, Simone de Beauvoir, Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche is very important. These writers, changed the whole mindset, and different novelists and dramatists then understood this philosophy in the backdrop of the two world wars, and then they came up with their fiction, their art, their paintings. I would like to add here that surrealism and expressionism are two modes of paintings which are also sometimes linked with existentialism and the theater of the absurd. In these fictions and these dramas, they try to make a point that when this human being feels that his life is meaningless on this planet, then it means whatever is going on is just an illusion. It means nothing happens. And that is also the catchphrase of the famous drama, Waiting for Godot. So, absurdity of this world makes us feel that anything tragic can happen to anybody, and that is why if we see that almost all the works based on this philosophy are either tragedies or tragicomedies, which they represent human being as a ridiculous entity over here, and his existence is nothing to do with any meaninglessness is there. So there is no plot, there are certain absurd situations are there. We see that in these dramas and in these novels which are based on existentialism, they try to show the outward nature, the outward unconscious world in such a manner which makes a human being feel that he is not fit in this universe. Okay, so and I don't say that exactly a meaninglessness is the core of all these fictions and dramas. These philosophers have come up with a solution also, that it depends on you whether you are choosing. If you are choosing good, then you are good, your life has a meaning in itself. If you are choosing bad, then it is also a meaning for you that you are bad. And that is why, as such, nothing is good, nothing is bad. It depends upon your choice, because you are free. So in the very beginning of the video, as I told you, that existentialism as a philosophy has two typical terms which have to be born into the mind. One is authenticity, and second one is freedom. And because human being is free and he finds that he's straight jacketed, he's under the clutches of the rules regulations of society, so he feels his life meaningless. And I'm coming to the kind of questions they have asked us so far. They have asked questions on Samuel Beckett, Franz Kafka. Franz Kafka, I would like to add here that his story Metamorphosis. Every student should go on the internet, and should study that story. In that story, I think we can understand existentialism up to an extent, because in that story there is a character, Gregor Zamza. Its spelling is Samsa, but we pronounce it Zamza. Gregor Zamza, without any logic, gets turned into a huge bug overnight, and then what happens to his life, then how his family discards him from his life, from their life, and then they feel very relaxed. So and another important work by the same writer, Franz Kafka, is The Trial. In that, there is a protagonist, unnamed protagonist, Mr. K, who is arrested one morning when, and that morning is his birthday also, and he does not know that what are the charges. And then at the end of the novel, he is brutally murdered like a dog. But we don't come to know, he does not clarify to us what was his charge on him and what wrong he committed. So these stories, they try to make us understand the absurdity of human life here, meaninglessness of human life on this planet. Apart from that, there are certain writers like Louis Pirandello, 6 characters in search of an author. If you are a serious student of net, you must have seen that they have asked 3 or 4 times questions from this novel, from this drama. Apart from this, Albert Camus' book Myth of Sisyphus is very important. Camus, the spelling of Camus is Camus. We don't pronounce it Camus, we pronounce it Camus. Though proper noun can be pronounced anyway. The Plague is also one of his novels, and they have asked us questions on the novel Plague twice. Apart from that, James Joyce novels, Dostoevsky's novels, Crime and Punishment is very important. They have asked us questions on that. Absurdity and existential angst have been the most important ingredients of all these works. And before I stop this video, let me also remind you about Tom Stoppard. I had chance to meet Tom Stoppard in Literature Festival in Jaipur, and he had connections with India also. And his drama Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is very famous, and his drama Travesties, we have got question in net examination. So apart from that, the fictions of Virginia Woolf and James Joyce, they also come into under the category, under the umbrella term of existentialism. So friends, you can consider that this video is based on 2 things, theater of the absurd as well as existentialism. I will try to make another video on theater of the absurd. Till then, thank you.